So with our lovely Miss P, hi cuteness. I know you guys had mentioned that you really wanted to start practicing with the head collar. Remember that we did do a couple little moments with Mr. Z as well. So Zeus had a couple videos of him practicing with the head collar on as well. So I would recommend, if you didn't get a chance to look over some of those, take a peek-see there too, just for added reference, but no worries. So oh my goodness, chewing. So I did see you guys did purchase the Halter head collar, which is great. Remember again to make sure not to rush these steps. We want to make sure that when we're conditioning a puppy or a dog to Halter head collar or muzzle training, that we go at the rate the dog can tolerate. Nice job, cuteness. So this one too, just for the makeup of the head collar, you'll see that there's the buckle. I know you guys have horses, so you'll be very familiar with a horse's halter. It's very similar where it has the side straps to hold the noseband in place. It does have this safety where normally in the beginning when I start practicing, I actually take this safety off because it's one less piece of equipment that the puppy could in the beginning get caught on or find a little overwhelming. So I like to take the safety off and keep it for practice later. So for right now, again, this little ring is where the leash would be hooked up to. The safety would typically be here and then hooked up to another piece of equipment, like the head collar would be hooked up to a collar or body harness as your backup. So I'm just gonna plop it in my pocket just so it's out of range. Ready, Pepper? Wanna do some find its? So in the beginning, good job, cuteness. Ready, find it. I don't want her to think the head collar instantly equals like put it on. So we'll do a little check-in with the Halter and feed for that. So we might even do a little bit. Yes, nice job. So almost like hand touches. You can have her sometimes target the head collar. So touch and nice job. And that one, of course, slid off my hand, but that's okay. So I might, again, present the item, let her check it out, and then feed for that. If, let's say, she's feeling pretty comfortable, you could leave it unbuckled like it is now. And I like to just use this whole big open noseband and start feeding a little bit. So as she goes and gobbles up her snack, her little nose touches the item. I want to be the one to let her come into the equipment, not me forcing it on her. So I hold it there and let her come into the space. I know I mentioned earlier in one of the previous videos is be careful that you're not sort of coaxing her or trapping her with something and food. So she's like, I really like these ones. So if, let's say, we were rushing the steps and we instantly trapped her with choosing between, oh my gosh, chewing, trapping her in the sense of I put food and I slap it on her, the next time I try to feed her another time, she might not realize, is this going to be a moment where it's going to be safe or unsafe because it equaled instantly slapping something on. So again, feed. You should chew them, madam. I know chewing is very hard for all these beauties. So let's say, again, she's a little bit out of range. I'm just going to bring her a little closer so we can see her right here. Yes, I'm going to feed for that. So remember, whenever starting something new, and good little itch moment, you never know when those come out, is the very first video with all the items out. That was earlier in the day, and there was a lot of a lot of noises going on in the building. So it was a little bit startling for her, and it wasn't as easy of a moment for practice. Remember though, the world is not always a vacuum. So even though I'm doing my darndest to make sure she's staying well under threshold and is comfortable, there will be moments where she does get overwhelmed and can't do the thing we were hoping. So in those situations, some folks will be like, just make it happen or just go ahead and do it anyway. Remember that in those situations, that might be the only way your puppy can say, I'm really flustered. And then if we don't listen to that, it can turn into learned helplessness or bigger responses to if we don't listen to the whispers. So I would recommend, ready? Pepper, nice, great little name recognition. She is getting tired. It is towards the end of the day for the beauties. So again, I'm gonna offer and then feed while her little nose is inside. So notice again, the food happens when her little nose or her face is near the item, and I'm feeding for those moments. You do wanna watch for your babe's comfort range. So if, for example, she was scuttling away or she's, getting really overwhelmed or her body posture is changing, then we could be rushing the steps and then it could be too quick of a process where now it's becoming a negative association versus a neutral or somewhat positive experience. Nice. So again, head collars, just like with anything novel, you do want to take your sweet time because it can be new. And of course, because of novelty, it can seem a little bit challenging. So right here, she's like, but I hear my lady friend talking. So if there's moments she doesn't know where the barking's coming from because she's in her little bubble for her little nap. So sometimes there's gonna be moments where, yes, nice job, cuteness, where she gets a little bit more distracted by the novelty in the classroom. But your main goal for homework with the head collar for now is I would start to pair this with sometimes just being out and about when you're working with her, and other times she might hand touch your hand and then you target the head collar as well. And then you can start to feed. Ready, Pepper? Come here, cuteness. She's like, I don't know yet. So if she's a little bit unsure, I'm going to see if I can help her. Nice, good girl. If she was saying, nope, way too hard, I'm not going to force the situation and get her to feel it's a little too challenging. So right here, yes, and just feed for this little check-in. Good girl. What a smart girl. Did it fall out? That's okay. We'll get a little sit. Yes, what a good girl. So keep the little training session short and sweet for the head collar practice and your usual, game plan for other tricks and training. Because if we made everything very challenging, it's almost like boot camp for training, not so much just giving a little try and building up from one little level to another. But remember, advanced skills are just basic skills that have been refined and mastered and have become really reliable. So, but again, right here, we're getting lots of really great little reps where she's shoving her little nose right in. Be careful to do this where you're pushing it into her and then trying to feed her magically. I would let her be the one that comes into the space and then you feed that moment. But remember, when practicing, definitely you can take a peek-see over some of the other video content on this channel, but also some of the videos I had sent along earlier. Some of those videos, like the Kiko Pup videos, there's another great one in there about muzzle training. Muzzle training could be very similar to, again, head collar training, and both can be really beneficial depending on the situation. So the muzzle training would be, again, another great way to implement some of this practice, but with, let's say, this head collar versus the muzzle. But for the beautiful lady, we may even implement like a longer lead could be helpful because, and she says she's all set. She went and laid down. She's tired. But I would recommend to start implementing some of these little things throughout the day and make it where there's mental exercises, not always physical as well. So that way the ladies are both working those on-off switches, working with bouncing back from distractions, be it spooky or overexciting or novel. But both the girls did a very good job for their first day. Well, for Miss M's first day, and Miss P's doing a great job for her continuing ed. But again, guys, if any questions arise, check in, but we'll give the girls a little breather and they'll work some more skills on Tuesday.